Welcome to the weekly share of the Zer Shimshon. This is Yudalid Shvat, Tavshin Pei Beis. It's the day before Tu B'Shvat. Mitzvah Hashem, everybody should have a lovely Tu B'Shvat. And I'm sorry I didn't do the share last week because I was in bed most of the week with a fever. Anyway, I'm doing Kapitel Ches here, and it's a short one, but it's a long segula. We'll see. We need segulas. Okay, the Midrash Yalkut and Shimoni, Parshas Beshalach, Remes Reish Mem says, "V'yaminu b'Hashem u'b'Moshe." We say this all the time, and then we say they believed in Hashem and in Moshe, his servant. Im b'Moshe yaminu kal v'chomer b'Hashem. So if they believed in him, in Moshe, so kol shekein, even more so than they believed in Hashem. Why did they have to say that they believed in Moshe? Anybody who trusts and believes in the shepherds of the Jewish people, it's as if he believes in the one that created the world. Ad kan l'shayna. That's the end of the Yalkut. Makshima oilam. The question of the world is the hayoloi loimar matamad loimar ba'Hashem. It should have said, why does it say they believed in Hashem? Not what did they, why did they say they believed in Moshe? Because the Amunah in Hashem calls for Kal V'Chomer from Moshe. Moshe, if you believed in Moshe, but Kol Shekin, you believe in Hashem. But Moshe is Moshe needed for the body, the essence of believing in Moshe. Anyway, there's other meforshim gemetaritz, but Lididan, according to the Zer Shimshon, he has an interesting approach. Midrash here gish kusha acheres. The Midrash feels there's another difficulty. The loy shayach klal loymar shehaminu b'Moshe. They didn't have to say at all that they believed in Moshe. Why? Shahari Moshe asa kol ha'oseis ha'ma'asim mipiyat Kadosh Baruch Hu. Because who was Moshe acting under? Who was acting under God? Everything was commanded by God. The kol masha haya oiseh haya mazkir shema Kadosh Baruch Hu. Everything Moshe did he named God. He didn't say it was his own doing. Loi mikri klau shehem haminu b'Moshe elo b'Kadosh Baruch Hu. And it doesn't say that it didn't happen that they didn't believe in Moshe at all. It's just they believed in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Chen Ksiv Kra, it says in Shmos, V'yamein b'ha'am v'yishma'u ki fakad Hashem v'yikoid v'yishtachu. So they believed, the people believed in Moshe because God commanded them, God visited them, and they bowed down. The Khan, Alayam, over here by the sea, Omar Moshe Hisiyatzu, Moshe said, Hisiyatzu, Ru'es, Yeshuas Hashem, Asher Asa Lachem Ayam. So he said explicitly, Moshe, take it easy, sit back, and you'll see the salvation of God for you today. Ve'afim bo lo'imar, shehaminu b'Kadosh Baruch Hu, she'asa ha'isais. Even though they could say that they believed that because Bohu that did the signs, after Haminu b'Moshe, they also believed in Moshe, Shahaya Roi leheyasais anisim al yadid, that he was fitting that the miracles should be done through him. Adayin kasha, still difficult. Matam alemer b'Moshe. Why does it have to say that they believed in Moshe? The Bishlemo ma shehaminu b'Kadosh Baruch Hu shaykh shaper. The fact that they said that they believed in Kadosh Baruch Hu, it was good. It was very possible that they believed. Shahari b'zuchus ha'emunah nigalu b'Mitzrayim, because in the merit of the emunah in God, so they were saved from Egypt. And I just wanted to add something on my own. I just thought of that. They were worshiping Avodah Zorah, so they could have tried to believe in one of those other Geshkas, but they didn't. They believed in God and they believed in Moshe. She'omru Chazal, it says in the Yalkut Shemoni, Avo Mashe Haminu LaMoshe. But the fact that they believed in Moshe, Lo Shaykh Kal Hacha Legulasam Shayisrael. But the fact that they believed in Moshe didn't have any pertinence to the redemption for the Jewish people. B'tiretz, Shabola lamdeinu ha'ladairis. So the Yalkut Shemoni comes to, it will teach us a lesson for generations. Shekol mi shema'amin beroya Yisrael. Anybody who believes in the Jewish shepherds, right? We got Moshe and Aaron and Moshe and David and Shlomo and all those shepherds of the Jewish people. Even if this says in their name, not in the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mikri ki'ilu ha'aminu ba'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's as if they said believed in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Michlal hein ato shameh alav. Then from that positive note, you can understand the negative. Shamisha eino ma'amin beroya Yisrael ki'ilu eino ma'amin ba'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If he doesn't believe in the Jewish shepherds, then he doesn't believe in God. So off here, the Jewish people had a nace unto them in the merit of their emunah and their belief in Moshe. Even though they didn't have in mind in their hearts to believe in Moshe after even the things that he didn't say in the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's very important to trust the leaders of Klal Yisrael. Okay, so the Segula, he says, I work in a profession that's popular among Eden, accounting, pitting my well-trained brain against the lawyers of the other side, which means the tax authority. It's my job to find the loopholes in the tax code so that I will save my clients as much money as possible. When my client makes $40,000 or $50,000 a year, the savings might equal a few $1,000s. What is nice for them, but it isn't usually tremendously significant, although in some cases it is. Even everything changes when I'm the accountant or the head of the accountancy team for a major company. Then every loophole I can find saved the company millions of dollars. Doing a good job for an international firm means that your reputation will precede you in the industry with clients beating down your door no matter what the cost. And there's another point to consider. Once you become the accountant for a company, you will learn all their secrets and help plan their strategy. In other words, you become part of the team, which means that they won't be in a hurry to let you go unless there's been a major fight between some of the key players. After all, if they hire someone else, that person will have to learn all the details that you already know. For that reason, the company will usually retain the accountant they know and have used for many years. About 7 years ago, I did business with a friend who happens to be the president of a major company. Our mutual business was successful, but for whatever reason, it didn't lead to anything more steady. The deal had been nice, but what I really wanted was for my friend to appoint me in-house accountant of his firm. Unfortunately, that never materialized. As the years passed, my friend's firm grew and grew, becoming extremely successful in its field. I gave the matter a lot of thought, and I decided that since we were friends who had also been successful in business together in the past, and since I had a first-class reputation as an accountant, maybe it was time for me to arrange a meeting with my friend and offer my services. Figuring there was nothing to lose, I asked the secretary if we could schedule the meeting on the 6th of Elul, the art site of the Zera Shimshon. I had by then been learning I'd been learning the Zera Shimshon's farm now for a while and felt connected with the tzaddik from Italy. I therefore set up a meeting and hoped for the best. We met on the Zera Shimshon's yard site, and the meeting went well, and he called me about a week later to offer me the position and tell me that I would be handling their accounts from that day on. I was so excited that I had been offered the account that the offer went against Derech HaTeva to such a degree that I had made a beautiful Sudas Haidah to thank Hashem for having granted me such kindness. In addition, I contacted my good friend Rabbi Yisrael Zilberberg and asked him to be a mefarsim the story that happened to me, because I felt it was important for Yidden to hear about what happened on the day of the Zera Shimshon's yard site. After learning from the Zera Shimshon about the horses of Mitzrayim and how it makes no difference to the Rebbeinu Shalom whether the enemy arrives riding on one horse or a million horses, I knew that nothing was beyond the scope of Hashem's power. To Hashem, there is no difference between a $20,000 account and a $50 million account. We have to remember that and internalize the message. That my personal Yeshua occurred on the day of the Rabbi's Yartzeit made the miracle that much more gishmak for me. At the Suda, I told my guest a word from the Zera Shimshon on Parshas Beshalach, where he discusses the pasuk Hoidu Hashem Kitav Kilam Chazdek. And the Zera Shimshon wanted to know why the pasuk repeats the word ki. I told them, if you give thanks and praise to Rebbeinu Shalom when he does a kindness for you, then he will increase the goodness in your life. That's when the pasuk is that's what the pasuk is telling us. Hoidu Hashem Kitav. If you praise Hashem for the good that comes your way, then ki li'olam chazdei, he will keep sending you more and more good li'olam eternally. But because, as everyone knows, giving thanks for the good in your life brings more the good in its wake. Needless to say, it was wonderfully uplifting evening in every way, reinforcing what had been always known about Hashem's ability to do exactly what he wants with his universe. But the story isn't over yet. At the company in the States, a bunch of the employees got together during the lunchtime to celebrate the siyum being made by one of the workers. At the Suda, one of the assembled rose to address the crowd and told over the Zera Shimshon's word on the topic, Hoidul Hashem Kitav. Most of the people at the meal had never heard of the Zera Shimshon before and wanted to know when and where he had lived. The speaker did his best to paint a verbal picture about the author with the limited information at his disposal. The Zera Shimshon lived at the same time as the Orach HaChaim HaKodesh. Though he had a son, he passed away during the Zera Shimshon's life. This prompted him to write this classic work, and especially the introduction, which captivates people immediately. I myself have personally witnessed quite a few Yeshuas in the area of Shidduchim, but why take my word for it? You can get a hold of the Sefer and learn it yourself. It was an emotional response. One of the people sitting there had a brother who was already 28 years old. When he heard the way his friend was talking about this Sefer, a Sefer had never heard before, he decided to purchase a copy and see for himself. Instead of learning the Sefer on his own, the man began studying Bechavrusa with his brother. 2 months later, his brother was a chassan. And another Zera Shimshon Yartzeit story. As anyone trying to find a home, an apartment to rent or purchase in the religious neighborhoods of New York can tell you, it is virtually impossible to find a good deal. Simply speaking, real estate prices are high and young couples are constantly forced to move out of town and live in tiny basement apartments. Sometimes without windows or proper ventilation. There is no question that the demand is far greater than the supply. I managed to purchase an apartment in Williamsburg, but despite having done everything I was supposed to do and fulfilling all the criteria demanded me by the New York State Housing Authority, the city would still refuse to grant me a CO, a certificate of occupancy, claiming that I hadn't done everything demanded of me. The lease on my rental unit was almost up. I had nowhere else to go, and the city wouldn't grant me the necessary documents. I was always claiming another reason why it wasn't yet possible to move in. I was willing to do anything they asked, but somehow, despite my best efforts, I found myself spinning my wheels. Erev Chodesh Tammuz, I purchased the Sefer Zera Shimshon and began learning it. Not long afterward, on Vav Elul, the day of the Zera Shimshon's Yartzeit, I received a permit from the city allowing me to move into my new home. There didn't seem to be any question in my mind, at least, that the city's sudden change of heart could only be attributed to the fact that I had begun learning from the Sefer of this very holy Jew on his Yartzeit. Have a wonderful week. I hope everybody has a refuah shalema. Kol tov.